ready for more action? Because we have a second semi-final coming up in just a little bit. So let's talk about the two teams we get to see. Of course, the tournament favorite, I dare say, Crazy Raccoon, they will be facing off against Toronto Defiant. Toronto Defiant is that one team that a lot of people think is the one team who can actually take it to those super Korean squads. Well, now it's time to show what they got. Let's take a look at the bracket to see where we're currently standing. As I said, we are in the upper bracket still, and this is our second semi-final match.
Yeah, Toronto going up against Crazy Raccoon. Of course, Falcon now waiting in the wings after their win against SSG. And you know, Toronto is one of those teams that we expected to beat Crazy Raccoon here, but we're not expected to beat, but at least could take it to them, right? But the thing with Crazy Raccoon is like they established themselves as the super team in the world. We thought it'd be Falcons going into 2024, obviously stacked with Sheeran Fielder, but this roster has performed above expectations, which says something considering the lineup they've had themselves. Lip, of course, the best hit scan player in the world. Chorong, an Overwatch League champion, incredibly flexible on that main support role, can play any support you want from him. And Shu, arguably the most legendary flex support player in the world. His playmaking ability, you know, remember the moments, of course, on Havana with the Baptiste, but also the biotic grenades when it comes to the Ana play. This roster is stacked beyond belief, Jake.
For me, if any team in the world can make the hit scan work, can defeat Falcons without mirroring them, it probably is Crazy Raccoon. Lip, I think, is the one to get it done. I think there's an option for Sojourn if you want to match the mobility of heroes like Genji, but with a little bit more of a comfort zone hero for Lip. I mean, when I watch Lip play Sojourn, he makes me believe, whether it's the casting of the Sojourn, he finds a way. And so, to be honest, no matter what Falcons have shown, I think Crazy Raccoon is going to make their own statement on the meta. The players that have been the most fun to watch for me this year are, though, the tanks on the squad. Max and Junbin were so hyped up joining the Shock as, you know, the next proppers, the next rookies to be on that level, but they didn't really have the season they were hoping for in the past with the Shock. This year, I think we're really getting to see why everyone was so excited for these players to come of age and play in the international professional scene. I feel Junbin and Max have had their breakout years and looked like incredible tanks, going toe-to-toe and coming out on top, frankly, over Smurf and Hanbin. I like Falcons this tournament. I think the meta has swung back in their favor, but you can't take anything away from Crazy Raccoons. This is a terrifying roster.
And one final thing about this roster as well, I do feel like Lip, he's a legendary player. Of course, multiple Role Star nominations on this role. He is an Overwatch League champion, Grand Finalist MVP. At some point, we have to start inviting Lip into the GOAT conversation with Violet, with Prophet, because Lip has certainly earned it. I mean, the Overwatch League achievements aside, so far, Lip has been on the best team, and we consider him the best hit scan player in the world. If Crazy Raccoon, they go in here in OWCS Major Dallas, and they win this international tournament in another year of playing, when do we start talking about Lip as potentially the best player in the world of all time?
I mean, I feel like we do, though.
I feel like he is a
think
GOAT.
we actually do. Maybe
The conversation is always Violet and Prophet, though. It's never been Lip is the GOAT of all time.
I feel like Lip, for me, is in that conversation. I mean, I think
the
to
last
be
few
number
years it
one
has
on
been.
hit scan is a crazy thing,
Yeah.
considering the level of talent in the role. I mean, it's a freakishly competitive role. It's kind of like the most flashy
You
role.
certainly can't be arguing with it anymore, because just prior to this match setup, we talked about how Hitscan might be a liability right now if we're looking at what, you know, Team Falcons are doing. If Lip can make it work, then yeah, no, he can make it work against anyone. That's what I'm saying. So let's see, but that is ahead of us. You know, that's only if Crazy Raccoon actually manage to progress in the upper bracket. First, they have to take down Toronto Defiant, and that is a squad which is stacked with such flexible individuals. I mean, they can play it all. Look at this roster. If you're having someone, you're set up for any meta that can potentially come your way.
Yeah, and look, they've earned the respect because they are, three of these players are Overwatch League champions. Merit, of course, who is also, you know, top 2, top 3 hit scan player in the world, alongside someone, as you mentioned, the hardest tank prospect because of his flexibility, being able to play so many tank heroes, right? RuPaul, one of the best flex supports player in the world, also an Overwatch League champion. So the fact that they are the current holder, if you will, of international champions of the world, right? Because they have 3 of the 5 members from Florida Mayhem. I think they have the respect here in Dallas. And now, going up against Crazy Raccoon, obviously you can talk about the competition being stronger in Korea with Falcons and Crazy Raccoon. But Toronto Defiant, they're no slouches. They have the championship experience. Now, though, they have a tough battle going up against their opponents.
I want to call out Vega as well. I think this guy's the hottest support prospect in North America. I think he's really on just another level compared to most of the main sports in NA. I don't think there's anyone from the region that's at the same level. And so I think Vega is a really exciting player on this squad. Also, just turned 18, I believe yesterday here at DreamHack. So, show Vega some love. Happy birthday to him. And maybe he'll get a little bit of a late birthday present if they're able to beat Crazy Raccoon today. Still, though, I want to emphasize this is an incredibly tough test. And I still think there will be more questions, even after this match, regarding the meta, regarding what comps are the best. Because, to be honest, Merit and Lip are both dyed-in-the-wool hit-scan players. There's a reason. I mean, they're monstrous performers on the role. But I think we will probably see mostly hit-scan mirrors here today. And so I think there'll still be more questions to be answered as far as strategically the meta. I think Toronto needs to go toe-to-toe on the Mauga comp with Crazy Raccoon. I think the Sigma, maybe there's a few maps where you can play slow, you can outvalue. Maybe that style can work in the really well-executed scenario. We saw ENCE find a few places and few maps where it almost was enough, but for me, the flexibility with the DPS counter picks, the flex support counter picks on the Mauga, make that the meta. I think you have too many responsive picks, too much flexibility within a relatively stable composition. For me, I think you have to win the mirror if you're Toronto Defiant.
That's the thing with Toronto Defiant, though. They've not been shying away from taking mirrors leading up to DreamHack Dallas, but they also haven't been scared of trying out new things and pushing their own boundaries and playing a little bit out of their comfort zone here and there and just testing it out. I'm very interested to see what they prepared for Crazy Raccoons. I am ready for this game. Let's see which team will be coming out on top of it. I mean, Crazy Raccoon obviously the favorite here. However, I've seen a lot of Toronto Defiant fans in this audience thus far. Just yesterday, they were loud. There were a lot of Toronto shirts, and rightfully so. I mean,
I feel like the energy is not high enough in this building.
Is it not enough for you
Are there any
anymore?
Toronto Defiant fans in the building right here?
Oh,
Come
okay,
on.
okay.
I got the hats. I'm ready to go. Jake's probably gonna pick Crazy Raccoon or something. Can I get a yeehaw?
As they say in Toronto.
I got some. I'm here to support Toronto Defiant. I really do think that they could potentially take it to Crazy Raccoon here. They have the flexibility.
I think
It's
they're the
going to
one
be hard,
team in the
Jake.
world that can do it, though.
You gotta
For
believe,
me,
Jake.
They're the
You gotta
last
believe.
team I really have hope for to be able to actually be in the grand finals, to potentially edge out one of these teams from Korea. To be honest, I think Toronto Defiant is sort of the last team standing that I genuinely think strategically has a real good shot at it. I also want to talk about a player we haven't mentioned really at all from Toronto Defiant, which is Sugar Free. Sugar Free was always, I think, very clearly for me, the runner-up for Rookie of the Year when Proper had his incredible breakout year and won Rookie of the Year. I think for me it was like, well, I kind of feel like Sugar Free was for me was like an obvious number 2. Maybe even for me was number 1 with not being on the best team and still having monster performances.
I mean, even leading up when he was still playing his way through contenders and whatnot, people were waiting for him to come of age. He's been around town for so long and people were just itching to see how he will be stacking up to the greats of Overwatch. And the initial performance was falling flat, maybe because of the team he ended up with. But I think so far in OWCS, he's been pulling his weight and some. Sugar Free has been lights out.
Yeah, maybe there's some potential for some echo being played in this series as well
Yeah.
here. We could see that. I feel like one duel we haven't necessarily talked about, though. We've hit on both of them individually, but Lip against Merit is going to be a hit scan duel for the ages. And I
You have a lot
feel
of
like
feelings here.
a lot of
Merit.
feelings
You
from
gotta
Jake,
put them,
but
gotta
These
put
guys
them
are
aside.
both match monsters. I want to say that. I mean, I think match Merit, playoffs Merit, this guy is icy in the clutch. He does not budge. The pressure doesn't get to him. I've seen this guy play. I've seen him practice. He is locked in from minute 1. And so I think he might be that type of young player who can face off against someone like Lip without the heart rate going up,
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Merit take over games. And that very much happened in the Stage 2 finals, for example. Merit just oh, are we going to see the real Merit? Please stand up. And he's just oh, well, Merit's here. He just took over the lobby. Merit's all over the kill feed. And you need that, right? If you're playing against Crazy Raccoon, you need that.
And to be honest, with the Mauga heroes, if you're going to play hitscan, for me, I like the Sojourn. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw Lip do terrifying things on the Cassidy. High Noon does get a lot of value. But for me, Merit's Sojourn, I mean, he really... For me, that's his hero, right? That's where we've seen absurd highlights, things that just nobody else can do. Merit delivers time and time again. I also think, thinking about the DPS, right, it might be a little bit of a different look, but think about Sugar Free, the Genji, the Echo. I think Venture is a hero that should fit totally inside of his wheelhouse. there's a way here for Toronto Defiant to have their own twist on this meta. Maybe they arrive from a different direction, but they can replicate a lot of what Falcons can do, maybe with a different approach to the comp.
I have to derail a little bit because you just adjusted your little hat. Where's the connection between a cowboy hat and the Toronto Defiant?
North
Are you a
America, baby.
ranger? Are
North
you like
America,
yes.
baby. We're
Who
here in
says there needs
Dallas.
to be a connection?
We
We can make cowboy hats with. I don't think these were meant to be worn, so it's a little bit uncomfortable. But I'll rep it to represent Toronto Defiant. So. here we
to
go.
the length you go to for a bit.
I'm here to
He's
support.
committing
I'm here to provide hope and support.
I love that. Maybe they don't need it. I feel like that's a confident team, you know? Maybe they don't need the Johnnies of the world.
what
to
am I
wear
gonna do?
hats. But, or maybe they do. I don't know. Let's find out actually what they have to say
Need a
because
job.
on day one or the day before the event rather, they actually had to sit down with Necra. So let's hear it from Toronto Defiant.
Hey everyone, my name is Necra and I am here with the Toronto Defiant. How excited are you guys to be here in Dallas for the first OWCS Major?
I think we're all really excited because we've been competing online for the past few months, being the best team in North America. And so coming here, I think we're here to have fun and most importantly to show that we're the best team, not just in America, but in the world.
How do you think you would stack up against the Korean teams that are competing at the Major?
I think the Korean teams are probably better than the European teams, but they're definitely not as good as us, I think.
I think we're the only team that has the potential to play every single comp. And so when a team loads up against us, they're really not sure what we're going to play. And so we have a lot of different things that we can pull out of our deck.
I was wondering if I could ask you what your favorite tank to play right now is.
My favorite tank is like I've never changed before. Is Winston because it's like fun to play and I can make to play to annoying them.
Is dive something that you think that you could lean into as a strength for your team for this event?
Yeah, I think we're definitely one of the best dive teams in the world.
Okay, so who do you think is the strongest player on your team for mechanical skill? Who do you think is the funniest person on your team?
What? Why are you pointing at yourself?
Because I'm the funniest.
This is crazy. That's how you know.
What are your strengths as shot callers?
Me and someone work like pretty well together. He's like the main caller of the team, but I'd say I bring a lot of like energy to the calls and like tempo.
In main event 2, you did lose in the winners finals to M80. So how did you get yourselves back in the game so that you could close out with the event win?
It was a complete Mickey Mouse win the first time they won. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like half our team was sick. Those guys they suck. RuPaul felt better after being sick the next day. And we were good to
RuPaul
go.
and Ham did not sing like a single word that entire match. Like, you actually can't win when they're not talking. So
They're both our leaders, and they just happened to get sick. Wasn't talking as much.
we weren't even trying that hard, to be honest either.
Let's calm down a little bit.
Is there any particular team that you are nervous about facing at this event?
No, there's no team.
No, you guys
SOG.
are gonna... SOG?
SOG, we did see like PGE. He came in with like a very dangerous looking mouse pad. And so like if we do play against them, it might put us on our edge a bit.
What team then are you most specifically looking forward to playing?
I'm most looking forward to playing as Crazy Raccoon because they're the best team in Korea. And they also have like one of my former teammates, so I really want to beat them.
Give me your best Southern or cowboy impression.
Oh, hi, buddy.
Hey, brother.
How
you doing?
Hey, brother. Me and Rupert been doing this for a while now, ever since Team USA, I'll tell you.
We are born and bred Americans, so we're used to this.
Reach over the sky. Is Heine.
Sugar-free, PGE said specifically that he wanted to beat you. What do you have to say about that?
Dude, I'm telling you right now, PG will never beat me in a match. The day PG beats me in a match, I'll retire. But that's not happening. Promise you.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time and for answering our questions, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Yeehaw!
It's time to introduce your teams. Give it up for the NA #1 seed, Toronto Defiant!
A franchise with a tough journey in the past. Finally, in 2024, can it be their year? They've invested. They want this championship so bad here in the OWCS Major, featuring 3 players from the 2023 Overwatch League champion team. the Florida Mayhem. Now they go up against their toughest test yet, the Crazy Raccoon. Can they finally fulfill what is asked of them?
And their opponents, Asia #1 seed. Give it up for Crazy Raccoons!
The team that towers over the competition, the final survivor from the toughest region of Overwatch on the planet. They are here for nothing less than a world championship in Dallas. This is Crazy Raccoon. Every single player best in class. Nothing less than total victory will satisfy them today. And standing against the hometown favorites, they fear nothing.
That's the clash of regions we all wanted to see, and now it is happening in our second semifinals of the day. For all the action, we're gonna hand it over to Mitch and Mr. X.
Thank you very much, Desk. Yes, welcome back to the floor here at DreamHack Dallas for what has to be the match of the entire tournament so far. We've heard whispers, we've seen it. The Toronto Defiant dominant in their home region with, as they put it, a Mickey Mouse stumble to M80 during that stage 2. They are here to dominate, and boy, are they invested in order to make this happen. But Crazy Raccoon have looked nothing short of terrifying so far.
Yeah, they have looked awesome, right? They have lived up to the expectation. I would say so has the Toronto Defiant. And Toronto's roster was put together to obviously, win in North America, but to win competitions like this, to beat teams like Crazy Raccoons. I think a big test here in front of them today.
Yeah, and again, it'd be fun to renew some of those, rivalries now, of course, of previous teammates. But look, this Toronto Defiant team, I think, it featured. Well, you look at it. You tried to put this on my head beforehand. You know how fat my head is?
Yeah,
I cannot.
That literally didn't fit.
I can't wear hats. It's crazy. Someone find me a hat I can actually wear.
Yeah, it's a shame because you should start wearing them. But no. For Toronto, I think, you look at this series, right? I think Merit versus Lip is a sick matchup in terms of hit scan battle. And then also Vega, right? Vega kind of like the newest, Sugar-Free we've seen in the league in the past, right? Vega, not as much, in this type of scenario where this is a huge match, for Vega, right? A lot on the line in terms of, expectations, I would say.
And that, of course, that stat represents the stage 1 run for Crazy Raccoon. They obviously also won in stage 2. It was somewhat competitive, I think, against Falcons, but they were definitely the team to beat at the tournament. They were well above the rest. A lot of Arisa played during that time, which is obviously not so much a factor here.
It's Morgan time. That's the...
Yes, essentially it is. On our first map, it will be no different. The predetermined map for this stage of the competition is going to be Ilios, folks. That's right. Kind of map that might necessitate some dive to be played. But as Johnny put it on the desk, I already felt that Lip was already part of this GOAT conversation. I guess it depends on who you ask. But going up against Merit will be his biggest test of this major so far.
Yeah, and I think a huge, obviously, win here for Toronto is, having someone who's able to play all the tanks at such a high level, not, for Crazy Raccoon, right? You want to make some changes between jumping and max depending on, what you expect to see, where Toronto does not have to mess around with any of that. They can keep someone, in the game, one of the best tanks overall at playing all the different tanks. So it will be, oh, look at this. So we'll have, we saw this a little bit the other day. It was not on Ilios, but we did see
it was Busan?
Yeah, it was Busan. We did see the Wrecking Ball come out here for Crazy Raccoon. So a little bit of a different look here, putting a lot of pressure on Merit.
Yeah, Wrecking Ball definitely a known component of Junbin's hero pool. Nice little boot there from Vega though. I think Junbin couldn't build up the speed that he needed to make the boot happen, but the issue already getting involved. Merit doused by that biotic grenade, could not stand on the fight.
Yeah, they take so much damage. I know Merit does that. Just a biotic grenade at range from shoot is enough to finish off the Cassidy of the Defiant. If you want to keep that Cassidy alive, everything really kind of builds around that. Yeah, so Sugar-Free actually will make a swap here. Pharah and Tracer, right? We kind of see this kind of happen where the other team, you have a Pharah v Pharah matchup, one of the Pharahs goes Echo, then the next response is Tracer that comes out from the opposing.
Sugar-Free definitely looking to try and clip Hisang's wings if at all possible. These fights are going pretty quickly now, of course, with the all-in potential that Wrecking Ball offers Crazy Raccoon. Merit looking to try and Again, pressure this Echo, not easy to do. Quite often he's saying looking to break line of sight, but that's good damage, and the Mac Grenade slows the Wrecking Ball down for just long enough. But Lip is there. 2 kills on the Tracer, and Heesang gets involved now with the Cassidy off the field. Unloads those cooldowns and finds 3.
Yeah, the Suzu was used a little bit earlier there in the fight by RuPaul, so you don't have the Suzu to keep him alive from the Pulse Bomb that comes through, and then it's a Biotic Grenade from Shu, so the follow-up is really good there from Heesang and Lip. So even though you do end up losing your tank, it does not really matter in the end.
Junbin drops down. No connect with the pile driver as all of Toronto are playing inside that close room. Definitely where they're stronger. These wide open maps can be challenging for this composition that features the Cassidy. And Heesang looks to do the Tracer. 2 Tracers on the field right now for Crazy Raccoon and 3 in total. This is going to be a headache for Toronto to keep track of. And a great sleep dart to set up some good pressure on Merritt. And that's the stick. Okay, Cardiac Overdrive is in play, but Vegas still brought down as he was low after the Pulse Bomb. Heesang comes out of Dubin. That's a well-timed focusing beat to claim the Malga.
This comp here from Crazy Raccoon has looked awesome thus far. Probably Toronto's best opportunity here. Double support ult coming in. You may not even get a cage fight here with how things are going.
Someone's still at 72%. It's a good point. They're running out of time. Pile driver on Mirror once more again. E6 close to the Malga if possible. Sound barrier used for Toronto to at least get them to the point, but it may have been a bit early as Torom now can hold on to his a little longer. Again, it's Merritt down. Heesang actually being the one to aggress on the Cassidy. It's a risk taken, but it pays off for Crazy Raccoon. Now Heesang can chill. Sit above the action for a time. Sticky bombs. The combo is so simple, but does expose himself to the Pulse Bomb as he drops to the ground. It may not matter though, as the numbers so heavily favor Crazy Raccoon. And no one else here can really match this Wrecking Ball comp. Maybe NRG Shock. They're unlikely to see them go up against Toronto Defiant again here. That was brutal.
Yeah, that was just, if you're Toronto, you're just gonna kind of throw that one away, right? You're not very close there. In our first round on Ilios is Crazy Raccoon opportunity to make some changes. I think you probably just play the Winston here. Like Wrecking Ball does not have a great time on this point specifically. Lighthouse with an excellent up, and Toronto. This is look at this. It's a little bit of a shades of SSG, right? Bringing out this Reinhardt.
Who better to do it than someone? They keep the symmetry in play as well. It's not something we always see on control maps necessarily. And you're going to have to do a lot of work to get someone within striking distance of this hyper, mobile, Crazy Raccoon composition. They're playing it sneaky. What are they waiting for?
You're waiting for the point to open up here and then end up just kind of making a play for it as they're going to wrap all the way around.
TP to point. I like that. They get there immediately, able to avoid the poke damage of Heesang. Trying to circumvent that, pretty oppressive long fight presence on Farah. But Immortality Field already had to be used here. Crazy Raccoon don't have to commit yet. Jorom goes low. Shu got picked up by what? A fire strike of all things. How does someone find that kind of pick? Oh, there's no fight to be had here at all.
Yeah, he's saying coming out originally there on the Echo, goes over to the Farah once they see what's going on the other side of things. Harry with some long range shots there. Takes out the Farah. You're also probably waiting there, Toronto, until it shows what heroes are being played on the other side, because you're not going to do that TP potentially if there is like a Lucio on the other side of things. Would have been pretty bad in that type of scenario. So
there is now.
Nice fight win here for Toronto Defiant as trying to get a little bit of momentum in their favor.
Junbin has to be so careful about this. With the Mag Grenade, he can't get away. They'll be held in place and flattened with all this damage that Toronto do have. Heesang on point here, just flanking, puts some pressure down with the barrage available, but has to stay away from this Cassidy with the Air Matrix active. Shu able to avoid some of those shots, and immediately Merritt asks the call. Heesang is silenced, but it came at the cost of someone. No tank standing for Toronto Defiant. They still want to commit the sound barrier to lengthen their lead.
I think they were just a little bit worried there because you had Junbin up on the high ground. You still had some damage coming on in. It's going to be a nano boost here used onto the Winston. For Crazy Raccoon finds most support. And does a nice job getting out of the way of someone there as he was getting quite low. That Farah damage just so consistent up in the sky, just chunking players down, letting Junbin and just go in and finish them off.
He had to wait out that Amp Matrix for quite some time.
Yeah.
Merritt was sitting pretty behind that and then dives in towards it. Notices that RuPaul had actually dropped down. Easy pick up for Junbin, found 2. That was basically the fight wrapped up. They were able to ignore Merritt for a time. But this is a 78% total that the Defiant have been able to put together already on Lighthouse.
Yeah, and a TP from that like far left-hand side would be a little bit telegraphed at the moment. So it looks like Toronto just trying to get different position here, potentially than fast play for the point. They're going to wrap all the way around. They're going to go take some high ground control here.
He's second Junbin though. Strike gold early on. RuPaul and Vega just maybe lagging behind the rest of the Toronto peloton.
I mean, they go and try and make a play for Shule up there on the high ground, and a big biotic grenade, and then Junbin right there with the rest of the team to help that on in the back line. Is may not want to try that one again. That was pretty devastating.
Sticking with this Sim though, as a wall is just around the corner. It'd be a great way to shut Shu and Heesang respectively down. Make it awful dangerous for Junbin to cross it. And that healing from Ana would be impossible. Here's the wall, diagonally thrown over towards the point here, and they want to cross through with the TP when Junbin is standing in the door.
The TP doesn't go all the way through. The TP actually just lands on like that flower pot in front.
That means that also Toronto can't use the symbol to their advantage. Now they're going to reposition towards that central area. And Heesang will be waiting for them to emerge with a barrage. Again, the Defiant know they need to play in the shade for the time being. Okay, Pulse Bomb no good for Limp there. It's going to be a Primal Rage pop by Junbin. He's hindered for now. He's able to dodge away from the shatter, and he gets a 2-for-1 swing. Oh, buddy, that is backbreaking. Toronto are struggling in this round.
Yes, they try and get onto the point, and they drop an Amp Matrix in reverse, right? It makes it really difficult to kind of push on into it. But Junbin with the Primal Rage, players already so weak.
Not just the shatter too, that was big. He was hindered as well. Not so easy.
And now changes here for the Defiant, right? Someone's going to go over to the Winston. Somehow able to have that happen.
Couldn't tell you how that happened. Mag Grenade doesn't find Chorong. He's just... Oh, you're bloody kidding me! At land, boys! We're at land!
So that is Crazy Raccoon winning map number 1. Not able to get a touch there towards the end. Was Toronto. They do get rid of the bar on the other side.
I'm looking at him like a disappointed father.
Nobody able to make it towards the point. So pretty strong performance there from Crazy Raccoon. We were like, oh, this is going to be a close game, whatnot. So far here at the start, Crazy Raccoon's making a statement.
Toronto and Defiant start that fight with an easy pick on Heesang from a Winston of all things. They are in like a, I don't know, a 5v3 situation there and just can't get to the point in time. Even with Symmetra, apparently that was quite difficult. There's much to dig into in that first map. Let's head over to the Tez Kid to break it down a bit.
Thank you so much. Yeah, let's break down all of the action. C9, not really what you want to see on that first map there, but you know, it is what it is. Let's actually start at the beginning though, looking at the compositions. We did get to see Lip on that Tracer. That's definitely something that we haven't discussed.
He's just one of the best Tracers in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be a huge edge for Crazy Raccoon in this series, right? That Lip has a hero like Tracer that fits into these very flexible compositions and yet doesn't have vulnerability like Hitscan. I mean, Merit's a very, very impressive player on the Hitscan, but I think the fact that Lip is not using the role at all, playing Tracer, it's like actually a critical hero in his pool. Merit does play Tracer, but I definitely take Lip decisively in that mirror. I think you really do want to keep Sugar free on the flex heroes if you're Toronto Defiant. So this could be a little bit of a gap in the armor for Toronto Defiant. A tough C9 at the end there as well of Ilios. A little bit of a mistake from someone not touching. I don't think you can blame Sugar free because in that spot, you know, Lip's been around the block, right? He knows the enemy Tracer's going to come for the retake. I guarantee he's being hard marked in the 1v1 there.
Oh, that's bait. Oh, just like showing yourself for a brief second. Someone drops the shatter and couldn't really get it. I feel, you gotta be kicking yourself if you're Toronto Defiant because you got it to 78-0 here on Lighthouse. Great execution by the Reinhardt composition, but you just gotta find a way to win, you know, 1.5 fight pretty much on Lighthouse there to secure that round, right? Either, you know, swapping over to the Winston. It was an alright swip, of course, because no ultimate on the side of Crazy Raccoon. Maybe there's a way you can maybe like flex over to the Mauga and just force it that way, make life difficult for Junbin. But you gotta be kicking yourself, you lost that round. You gotta look forward in the series, but we're in the same spot we were like an hour ago, Zoe.
That's very true. But you know what? And we could still look ahead and strategize or just, you know, have some hopium and copium. Like we can do all of that. Let's discuss the maps coming up because this is going to be, of course, the pick for Toronto Defiant. Where would you take us now? Because I somehow feel like Control, you can only take away so much from a Control map. And now the real strategy begins.
I mean, to be honest, I think Toronto's really hard to predict right now. I don't think there's like an obvious map pick, and I think that's going to play to their advantage. They're not really forced to go any one direction. I don't think you're scared of the dive mirror. Maybe it is most likely going to be whatever their best win rate is for Escort or Hybrid to deny, some of those stronger, weaker maps. Whatever the highest variance map type is, they'll pick it. Circuit, I mean, it's a lot of confidence, forcing more evidence, I think, that they really do want to take this hit scan mirror, keep Merit in his comfort zone. And I do think we did see the stats at the end of Ilios. I think those are very misleading stats, though. Playing the Rhine Sim on Lighthouse is not a strategy that's going to give you good stats. You're going to die and you're going to get damage farmed, but you're going to be sitting on the point capping it. So, while round 1 was really dominant for Crazy Raccoon, those stats were, I think, over-exaggerated how far apart they were on that first map.
It's going to be a really interesting series, but again, the hit scan matchup, Lip versus Merit, we're going to Circuit Real. I am really scared of facing Lip on this map, I'll tell you that.
Anyone would be. Lip is a scary guy, regardless of where you're facing off against him. But for now, you will be facing off against him on Circus Real. How are we feeling about this map choice, gentlemen?
It feels like it's pretty standard, honestly, for for teams that don't really want to be coerced into playing dive. But we're dealing with someone here on the Toronto Defiant side, so I feel like it doesn't really matter what these guys play. He's excellent in any of those roles.
Do you want to play what we just saw there on Ilios? I mean, they would end up playing like, maybe not Wrecking Ball per se, but like a Winston-based composition, and then it was just really all Crazy Raccoons in that type of setup.
That's fair. I mean, let's shift the focus a little bit here and talk about Lip, right? On Tracer, on that map, looked really, really good in general. I don't know. He is part of the GOAT conversation already, right? I feel like I don't think I missed the memo there. We were talking about this guy. I mean, to be fair, he was up for MVP on the same year that Proper was, so that's a bit rough, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty, subjective in terms of, right? I think all the damage deal is going to kind of rise to the top of that conversation.
Top two in the world at the very least, no?
Yeah, I mean, for his role, I would say so, right? I mean, you think kind of like his hit scan counterpart or whatnot, like is like Merit on the other side, right? You kind of have him on the other side of the stage in terms of like how strong those players are right now. But Lip getting the better of the series so far.
Yeah, I mean, and we're often sort of pitting him against Merit in this kind of head-to-head. But when you were playing Cassidy, whereas Lip obviously he's actually not really considered the most flexible. I think there was a time where, in the Sombra meta, I think that hurt Lip a little bit. I think it hurt his reputation.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Maybe his legacy. But, here can play Tracer when he's saying he's playing Farah. Definitely can play hit scan. I mean, his Sojourn is probably the best in the world. I think his Sojourn is the best in the world, personally. We have a swap here, substitution on the side of Crazy Raccoon, making use of that deep bench at tank here to bring Max in for Jundin. Max always feels like a bit more of a brawl tank player, but there's a lot of overlap between the hero pools of the two tanks on Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah, and I also think, we talk about how well the tanks have performed here for Crazy Raccoon, and then Lip as well. None of that is possible. I mean, Jorong and Shu is so good in combination with, individually and in combination with each other. That it enables you to do so many different things with the rest of the lineup, and it also allows players to take maybe a little bit more risk, right? Knowing you have those two backing you up.
Competitive map of Ilios, I would say. Lighthouse, though, a little bit odd. There were attempts from the Defiant to make use of that Sim Reinhardt composition, but there was a Sim wall that was thrown up, and then a TP that didn't really match up with it, kind of forced Toronto to play elsewhere. They actually pivoted around the map. They sort of rotated, and all of a sudden, the Sim wall wasn't relevant anymore. It definitely looked like they were a little uncomfortable trying to play that style into Jundin's Winston setup. Again, that map could go either way if they don't sort of fail to touch the point at the end of the round. These things happen. Even with the best teams, in the biggest of stages, they happen. But again, pretty annoying when you know how much expectation is on your shoulders. Yeah. Someone, especially as a world champion, knows exactly what it takes to beat a team like Crazy Raccoon.
And in the last series, at the end of it, right, we kind of talked about how map 2 was extremely important in the grand scheme of things for SSG to be able to get. They don't get it. They end up losing 3-0. I feel very similarly about this series. I think this map is almost essential here for Toronto Defiant if they want to make this a game.
I think that's a fair point. And I think Jake said on the desk at the start of this game, this is kind of like the last chance for him to have belief in North America or European teams taking on the very best from APAC. This is the real game to watch. This is how you get a feel for how far ahead APAC are, if at all. Toronto Defiant have to make good on this map selection. They have to turn Circuit Royal into a winning foray. Like many teams have tried to leverage this map to gain an edge in the series.
Or just not play Gibraltar.
Avoid getting Gibraltar. Also reasonable. We'll see what the composition looks like here. Defense though, we can talk Max playing that Sigma. It will be Heesang Farah. No Lifeweaver like we saw, of course, from Falcons. Not a preference for Crazy Raccoon. Shu will have to keep Heesang topped up. Bit of ground Farah play required to make sure that, yeah, he can be aggressive, he can poke. Lip on the Widowmaker though. That's going to be fun, especially if Merit chooses to match it.
Oh yeah, that'll be an awesome matchup if that is ultimately what we get out of the damage dealers on the Defiant. Obviously still a lot of time for them to make some changes. See what they decide to do. Hanzo, Sonic Arrow, then maybe kind of decide to switch the comp up here a little bit. So Sonic gets some...
No, Merit's seen everything he needs to. Wants to play to Cassidy here. Ramatra Brawl for Toronto. Sugar Free, of course, can sort of climb up the buildings and pop down behind Crazy Raccoon.
The Cassidy's going to be really good at obviously putting pressure onto Max, and then if the Brig is playing close by.
Sigma Mirror.
Yeah, so they'll play a Sigma Mirror, well, and they'll actually, Sugar Free here, play the Soldier here. So it's a little bit of a different look from Toronto.
Double hit scan versus Farah. Not the first time we've seen it this tournament. Oh yeah, Sugar Free needs to respect what Lip can do here. Disrupt shot thrown down. A nuisance for Max to deal with. Lip here trying to buy his time. A perfect opportunity to spring forth as those Sigma shields are brought down. Now Merit's already been crumpled there by that accretion hit.
Yes, I mean, you see how healthy Max gets there with that kinetic grasp, up above 700 HP at the time. And RuPaul will take out Heesang here, so that's a lot of just splash damage, right? That's going to build up, so you might be able to make a push now.
But look what RuPaul was playing. So Heesang must have really overextended there into the line of sight of the Baptiste. And Toronto do have a lethal comp to Farah. If Heesang would have misstep on that pick, now switching of course, it would have been dangerous against double hit scan. And Matrix Lip quickly exiting.
That caught them off guard because Max was like stepping up to actually play on the payload, and I think just having that Amp Matrix definitely surprised him a little bit. That'll be a response though from Shu.
Sugar Free kind of trapped there. Didn't want to peek into the line of sight, but Heesang was knocking on his door. His proverbial door. Chorong out. That's not where you want to be at all. Had to fall back around the corner, but that shield has almost been taken down. They're waiting for Max to get back into the fight. He's about to drop down from that high ground here. And Crazy Raccoon done a great job of staying healthy in the meantime.
Shush keeping everybody topped off. And now you have everybody back here in a full fight. So you get Max earlier with that Amp Matrix there for Toronto, but you're not even really going to get much progress from it.
What's Lip been up to? He's already been able to find any, insta-kills here. The only hero in the game that can really manufacture them now.
Yeah, not able to really kind of connect with anything at the moment. This will be a flux here from someone. You'll get a kill off of that because the rally's rolling for Toronto.
They got Merit though, so the lion's share of damage for Toronto taken off the table. Sojourn, okay. Sugar Free's gonna go for it. Overclock here, but has to be mindful of where Lip is positioned. So he sticks to the right-hand side. Stays in the line of sight of the Widowmaker now. Wants to come forward, but someone is a little bit low. Immortality builds for Toronto has expired. Vegas beat is gone. Shu now getting close to an Amp Matrix, which would be devastating in lieu of the extra healing resources of the attackers. Toronto have had to back up.
Yeah, Amp Matrix beat Amp Matrix for the next fight as well. So
Infrasight too.
Yeah, Infrasight. So you'll also have a Blade, so we'll get a chance to see kind of how Heesang goes about using that in this next fight. This next one could be huge, right? RuPaul, that's where they got the most kind of push, I would say, here for Toronto. Use this maybe if the Crazy Raccoon get a little bit aggressive around the corner. They decide to back out completely, avoid that Amp Matrix.
The temptation to overextend after your Amp Matrix doesn't give you anything. It's probably there for a lot of teams, but not Crazy Raccoon. Good discipline. Heesang, no, this could be dangerous. Hit by both the mag grenade and the accretion and brought down. Now Crazy Raccoon have to fall back. They don't have the blade to leverage. It's the only ultimate they could bring in. But Chorong, great shield patch, gets rid of RuPaul. Shu's Immortality Field does its job. Sugar Free had to clear that first. Another one. Merit falls once more. Two in quick succession. And a quick slide from Sugar Free to get out of the Graphitic Flux. Puts Max in a bit of an awkward position. He's very overextended.
Yeah, he's very deep. There is a health pack inside of this room, but they turn around, deal with him rather quickly. You're gonna have both supports back
10
in the
seconds
mix here for Crazy Raccoon, and you still have this blade.
He sends back, but surely you don't draw the blade here. He can stall, caught in the flux. He's dead. Very dead. There it is. And be brought down with a disruptor shot added to the mix, and now Toronto Defiant have themselves that first checkpoint. Merit matching the Widow battle here. That's fun. But it's Lip getting taken down by Sugar Free instead.
So it does not feel like we've really seen Lip's impact here on the Widowmaker thus far.
Couple kills. He got Merit once, I think. That's it.
Yeah, it's kind of playing a little bit further back there on that high ground.
Put him in the Soge, man.
Some changes there towards the end. Just gonna get back towards the payload for Crazy Raccoon, so they'll make the adjustments to move on back. As Merit now will play the Cassidy yet again, as we're gonna see a Ramantra, and just as we were talking about it.
Lenny just overextends a little bit. It's got a decent angle now. Toronto need to wait for a speed boost. This is an awkward spot to play against this poke setup that Crazy Raccoon do have. Very, very close. Lip also has that infra sight coming up pretty soon, pretty crucial. Merit actually switches back to the Cassidy.
Walls here now for Lip. Look how much time this is just buying, right? Toronto just pushed down to a really odd part of the map.
Only 90 seconds, man. They can't really afford to be delayed for too much longer. They might charge in with a beat speed boost. They need to force a fight somehow.
Yeah, there's no speed for Crazy Raccoon, right? It's going to be very difficult to disengage if that's the case.
Mag grenade got thrown out there, but it's going to be Heesang going in first. Blade is good. Gets through the immortality field of RuPaul, and the Defiant are about to come crashing down. That's a one-sided fight if I've ever seen it. There was a beat there somewhere. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's the beat.
It wasn't an Ajax, was it? Say it ain't so, because Vega went down first.
It might have been.
Oh, buddy.
I didn't exactly.
Hey, hit me with that instant replay.
That is tough stuff, especially because you're playing around that for so long, right? Your key response is pushing in a really difficult situation. This is an Ant Matrix here for Shu.
Sugar Free.
Yeah, they push up there with their own immortality field.
Oh my goodness. Lip says, sorry, buddy, up to the sweet tooth. Crazy Raccoon now with 4 still standing. This is a domination.
Yeah, this also isn't exactly super comfy for Toronto, because when we've seen them play Sojourn-based compositions, it's really been Merit to play the Sojourn Sugar Free on the Tracer. Like, that's where they've kind of like had their most success playing those different types of
Sugar Free on the hit scan is an interesting look.
It's obviously you can play it, but it's not exactly what they've kind of run throughout the history we've seen the team so far. So
now we're just getting
speed. The Hinder goes down there, connects onto Shu, but it'll be the Genji here for Sugar Free. Goes in with a dash. Backs up Crazy Raccoon a little bit.
Rounding up here for Torong. Infant to Defiant want to try and close the gap, and someone does have Annihilation, but how do you make use of it here? Crazy Raccoon will continue to give ground. Set up for good poke. There's Lip. Sugar Free's down again. What a pick off. He's fighting really important eliminations here. The Annihilation can't be stopped by Max's kinetic grasp, but now the Crazy Raccoon team have to commit into this maelstrom. Merit from behind it though with a Deadeye. Someone was forced back somehow, and then Annihilation is forced to expire too. Sugar Free returns on the Tracer now, has to get involved some way with a Bionic Grenade dousing someone. Means the immortality field has to be used, but Lip just picks it off out of the sky. There's nothing here for the Defiant to work with. What a one-sided round.
So for Toronto, they do get that first checkpoint, right? They make it not exactly to the second one. Fall short just a little bit, but...
A lot bit. They fell short a lot bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly call that a lot bit. They get, almost...
Semantics, they're a long way away.
Almost 70% of the way there, but... you start to see Lip come alive there on the Widowmaker, forces them with the infrasight a few times, just kind of burn, clock, clock.
Ajaxed.
Here's what we were talking about. So this is when they were kind of like holding onto the sound barrier to kind of push on up.
Oh, the humanity of it all.
It's just a dash through. They're actually trying to use even the immortality field, it looks like there, to make sure they get it, but the immortality field gets taken out like almost instantly. It looks like in flight.
If I was Vega there, I'd be doing a striker, and I would have punched a hole through the LED wall behind me.
I mean, well, if you were playing Lucio, Jake is the Masters edition of basically the wood edition. We're on.
Do they have one of those?
Probably.
I'm playing that. Anyone looking for a teammate?
Johnny.
Support mate. Johnny, what's up? We're gonna run it back, buddy. Let's go. I'm so ready. Toronto Defiant though. I mean, They got made to look a little foolish at a couple points there. Losing the sound barrier while they were playing that low ground map, they had to force a fight. We knew they had to speed out, beat, but oh, buddy.
And the walls had forced them into that position, right? They kind of just rotate around that corner and get stuck there. So Toronto playing pretty close here on defense. Of a Ramatra-based competition here at the start. It's, look at this. This actually just runs straight by.
He's looking like Mr. Bloody Fahrenheit charging over to the cart there. Okay. RuPaul taken down, and Immortality Field didn't come out awful early, and this forward hole for the Toronto Defiant is going to be dismantled in short shrift.
Yeah, I mean, just when you think he's gone in the meta, right? Morgan shows back up in a big way. So, look at this. I think we're going to see a swap, right? They see...
Nope.
Oh, no. So, actually, Sigma on the other side, probably, you know, debating what we decide to do. Do you mirror the Sigma
match the
here?
Sigma.
Yeah, you match the Sigma. So, teams, in terms of what we see in terms of tank play, right? It seems like teams are okay matching that Sigma at the end of the day.
Crazy Raccoon have got plenty of tanks, they can do anything. Another early Immo, was that for Vegas' sake? It's unclear. I'd be backing right up here if you're Toronto. That is very frightening. Chorong here playing close, sugar-free on the main, trying to catch someone with the wall, and Lit was the target. They get the Cassidy. Nicely done by Merit to respond.
And that's huge, right? Because you don't get that kill onto Lip there. They're going to end up building the Consuming Rush, getting right around the corner, and no Immortality Field at that moment. It would have been quite difficult. So here's the Consuming Rush. Defiant responds, so he can push right up through it.
Merit has to reload there. He saw a lot of really low health targets. Could have picked them off, but only 6 in the 6 shooter. RuPaul down to a back grenade of all things. So again, the Immortality Field gone. The Baptiste regenerative burst not there, and they've used a sound barrier in order just to stay in the fight, and then they have to back away anyway. This is dangerous. He's staying with the blade. We'll have to wait. He's hindered, but getting healed up instantly by Chorong, who runs in with the Genji. This is desperation now for the Toronto Defiant. Someone trying to hold his ground somehow, but he walks down and gets blown up. Nice little gravitic flux there, and that is the checkpoint coming up for Crazy Raccoon.
It is great fortune for Crazy Raccoon as well, because they end up using their sound barrier. Chorong ends up doing it. It only connects with him and Shu at that moment, right? There's like a Maywall or something in the mix that got thrown in that did not get great use of their own sound barrier, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. They get that checkpoint. They have a load of time here to get just about 62 meters.
Deadeye was forced back. Oh, look at how low they are. That could have been a 5K. Deadeye could have been a 5K. They didn't have an Immortality Field in play. Ooh. Oh my God. Okay. They've used it early once more though. RuPaul has had no choice but to part with it. Great Flux. That is a world champion Flux, right? Into the Blizzard 2. Perfect combo for Toronto Defiant. It's managed to slow down Crazy Raccoon for now. Stagger Max a little more. Maybe find some room to breathe, if only for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, the kill on Max there, you just buy yourself even some more time. So you can't be aggressive here, actually. Yeah, looking just for a pick coming out of the spawn, right? As now the headshot starts to roll again on that Cassidy.
It's pure dopamine, man.
And where you decide to play here if you're Toronto, right? You can't play this low ground. It's just a really pretty even. I think the Fraser really love that. Like this first corner, you're in an odd spot. The Amp Matrix use your Maywall combination, just trying to split players off. Doesn't seem like they caught anybody, so now you may have to actually back up.
May in a poke comp seems pretty tricky to make work. It's all long-range walls. You've got to be very premeditated, I think, about how you set it up. Yeah, Magranate didn't make its way down. Seems to have been the case here. He's saying constantly threatening.
It's a really good area for a Kitsune rush, though, right? You're getting very close. It's going to be sound barrier here.
He's Magranated. He's hinted. Still able to find Max, though. Getting rid of the Sigma is so big. Now there's nowhere to hide for Crazy Raccoon. Again, they'll be shoved back into spawn. That is clean from Merit.
Yeah, I mean, now it's starting to get rolling here for the Defiant. It's a pretty good fight for them, right? They end up using that Eye sound barrier in response for Crazy Raccoon. And they don't get anything out of it, so...
Yeah, they should win this fight too.
Yeah, you mean in theory, right? You're going to have Gravitic Flux, and you're going to have your own sound barrier, probably end up building an Amp Matrix here as well, so they're in a pretty good spot. The next thing you're looking at is like this insane blade, right? Vega not able to get the sound barrier down in that first half. Ends up giving a lot of progress, giving up a lot of progress, probably for their own sake.
A lot on Vega's shoulders here. Open up the fight though with a Flux, and again, Lip loses in a 1-to-1 versus Merit. Happen to the best of you, going up against a player like that. Here's a gravitic clutch on the side of the Raccoons. They're going to go for a blade as well, but the sound barrier was there. Vega holds nerve, holds onto that beat. Merit with another beautiful little 2K.
And this is what you expect from Merit, right? We talk, Lip, one of the best hit scans in the world. Merit is right up there. I mean, I think that is a very close battle between these two players. Merit starting to come alive on the Cassidy, and look at this. So Crazy Raccoon able actually, it's not going to be like a Maga, right? We've seen Maga have good success against Sigma. It'll actually be Ramantra.
Yeah, trying to push the battle lines forward as much as possible, but the May is such a nuisance for the Ramantra to deal with. Deadeye for Merit. Lip tries to roll away. He's getting clowned on. Shudo at least able to silence Cassidy with a kunai. That is the only joy that Crazy Raccoon are going to find in that cold, wintry landscape that Sugar Free's erected. Less than a minute left.
And that was your Kitsune rush. I was like, oh, maybe you want the rush with the Ramantra, right? His cooldown's become pretty strong inside of that.
And the BAP, man.
Now
Too
Shu
good.
will go back to the Baptiste, so seems like Crazy Raccoon just kind of throwing stuff at the wall here, trying to get something to work.
It's a tough spot for any team to play from. We saw Toronto suffer in exactly the same position. Chorongo will have his beat. If it doesn't get Ajaxed, then he'll be happy with it. Again, Merit strikes though. What a target to find. The Baptiste is down. Crazy Raccoon now have to make a tough decision to regroup for one last push, one last fight, but he's been spotted. Merit claps him. Special credit, of course, to the Accretion to set it up.
Yeah, you'll be able to get Heesang back from spawn, right? It's definitely going to burn a little bit more clock. To someone with this gravitic flux, it's going to be that sound barrier that you mentioned though for Chorong on the other side, which is huge.
Flux is good, going to catch 3. Sound barrier has to come out immediately from
they
Chorong.
touch?
It's enough to save them. 3 seconds left. They're going to venture heading over towards the card. They're going to touch it here. Good Deadeye, good damage. Immortality Field had to be used there by the Toronto Defiant, and Vega has gone down. Air Matrix now, but they don't have the players to capitalize on it. They've got to group up around the card. Raccoon's are low, yes, but Shu is going to be there. Regenerative Burst is going to be massive here to get everyone topped up, but he has an Air Matrix available. Here they come. Merit steps back, Deadeye again, Lips able to avoid it, but only just. He eventually falls a trade as Heesang hits that flank hard. Venture, a real problem now for this poke composition of the Toronto Defiant. It's going to be Max pushing up on the card. Vega goes for a beat, but only 2 or 3 players are able to benefit from it at all. Max wants to come forward. He doesn't have Nemesis form available though. A very healthy Toronto Defiant now. RuPaul's Immortality Field is going to take him down. Gravitic Flux, who's in there? Max gets the annihilation and finds Vega. Huge Immortality Field from Shu. Not a sound barrier. Everything you could ask for was at Crazy Raccoon's disposal. What a fight. What a contest. But it will be a 2-0 lead to Eurasia #1.
And for Toronto, I mean, you played that really well towards the end. You hold them for about 3.5 minutes, but you also gave them about 4.5 minutes, right? You just cannot give a team like Crazy Raccoon that much time to get that checkpoint. Not even a second checkpoint completion. So that one has got to be pretty devastating for Toronto.
It was intense, competitive back and forth. Plenty of room for skill expression on both sides of the stage there. But ultimately, it's our North American #1 seed unable to get the map win. That is what really counts. Yes, they do have a selection of map and mode here coming up. They're going to have to make it count. It's their last chance to be the last team, really, from this region to put a stop to Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah, I mean, look, they looked really strong there, getting that hold for that amount of time. I think Merit started to come alive on the Cassidy. And I think if you're Toronto, you're probably wanting to do something with the Sigma Mirror, right? I think that's probably where they look their best.
Yeah, really. We didn't see much of Circuit Royal in the end there. We saw the Ramantra come out and find success on Crazy Raccoon. Let's head over the desk to break down the action from Circuit Royal.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, let's break it all down. I mean, heading into this very map at the beginning, looking at the compositions, especially the ones from Toronto Defiant, they were cooking up something. Not necessarily stuff that is easily to digest. There were some compositions in there, especially looking at the DPS lineup, that we haven't really seen. I know that you personally wanted to see Merit taking that Widowmaker battle against Lip initially. You did for a hot second, switched off again. Did pop off on that Cassidy at the very end, though. Let's chat about what we've seen from that team and maybe break down the compositions and the approach or the thought process that Toronto Defiant had behind it.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, we talked about Toronto's flexibility, but it was Crazy Raccoon playing stock standard here. I think this BAP rig is very effective defense. The Genji, Widow, Sigma, this is pretty comparable to what we see at the highest level on Circuit Royale. For me, it was the Sojourn Cassidy is a very odd selection, especially with the Lucio. Typically with Lucio, you want to connect to the enemy backline and plug in a DPS that wants to really get on top of the enemy. Sojourn and Cassidy aren't really that hero. Typically, they'd be paired with a Mei or a Genji that wants to create space for them. The two of them together didn't work as well, but Sugar Free brought out the Mei here on the defense, and Merit, man, you give him this position on the high ground, give him that open window to flank into the backline, and he delivered fight after fight after fight. For me, this hit scan mirror went Merit's way on this map. Even though the win eventually came to Crazy Raccoon, I mean, Toronto, after the weak offense, had no business having such a close hold. And so I think they could be feeling good going into the next map.
This overtime. Can we just talk about this overtime? Like, what do you have to do? You just can't beat them. Like, just when you think Toronto Defiant, maybe they have the upper hand. Maybe with an early flux in spawn, they can throw off Crazy Raccoon, prevent the touch. They get there in the final millisecond, and then just with tooth and nail, they just drag it out. Like, what more can you ask for?
They refuse to
Toronto Defiant
lose.
tried so hard, but they're unstoppable. Crazy
Yeah, and I
Raccoon.
mean, they should be giving every Toronto Defiant fan a lot of hope, though.
It should be 1-1.
It should be, but it's not.
But it's not.
So that's where we're at right now. Let's talk about the Crazy Raccoon here, though. That squad, I mean, from front to back, they're a tough opponent to go up against. I think we're talking so much about Lip, obviously, heading into this. I do feel like we have to touch on that back line, though, because quite frankly, Chorong and Shu, they've been such stand-up players all throughout their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, specifically on that defense, I think that Chorong really came on clutch with that break pick as well. The way he was able to hold down the front line with Max on the Sigma, of course. And you saw some real crucial rallies coming through on the break. When the fight is turning, when Toronto Defiant, they're trying to extract ultimate value. That is when Chorong pops that rally, stabilizes the front line, and he's making it so difficult for Toronto Defiant to get a lot of value from this ultimate. That was a long point A. Like, that took all 4 minutes to really secure the first point for Toronto Defiant. And I think that Chorong did a spectacular job on the break. And Shu, of course, I mean, he's one of the best Baptistes in the world, right? So I think we talk a lot about Lip, of course, on Crazy Raccoon, but the backline, I think, was really strong on that Circuit Real. And that was part of the reason why Toronto Defiant was held on the second point in the first place.
This also means now, of course, that it is once more up to Toronto Defiant to decide which map and which map mode we are heading to. Where do you take it, right? Let's take a look at the map set to see what's still available as well and discuss this a little bit as we just finished out our run on Circuit Royale. Push, Flashpoint, and Hybrid still available to us. Where do you see the best chances for this Toronto Defiant squad?
It's a long road home for Toronto Defiant to bring the reverse sweep in this series, but I think it's got to start on a hybrid map. Probably just whatever your biggest comfort zone hybrid map is. In the end, the next two map picks, even if you win this map, okay, it's going to be Hollywood as expected, okay. Hybrid, but the next two map picks, even if you win, are going to be for Crazy Raccoon. So you want to deny the most valuable map type pick, which of course hybrid with 4 maps. The bet you can get that out of the way for Toronto Defiant. There is a road here, right? Because even though Crazy Raccoon might get those next map picks, if you can start it here on Hollywood, if you can get it going for Toronto Defiant, those next map picks just aren't that valuable. Push, Flashpoint, not as differentiated as the other map types. And so frankly, there is a road here. And after we saw the last map, after the speed Merit started to get on that Cassidy, normally with a down 2-0, I'm feeling pretty hopeless. But to be honest, I still believe this is still doable.
I think it's going to be a really interesting map, and maybe we'll see some more Winston being played on this map. You know, we've seen some Ramatra in Europe, but I think it's primarily going to be the Winston compositions now. Someone, of course, a really gifted Winston. But the player that I keep my eyes on in this map specifically is going to be Sugar Free on Toronto Defiant. I feel like if they're going to play Tracer on this map, you're going to have to come up clutch, and you're playing against some elite Tracers with both Lip and Heesang, whoever they throw out there, right? So it's going to be a really tough matchup for Sugar Free. I think he needs to come up clutch for Toronto Defiant.
Let's see if he can get it done, and if they keep themselves alive in the upper bracket for all the action, we once more heading it over to our favorite gentlemen, Mitch and Mr. X.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I mean, Hollywood coming up here may be a little less expected, but with two teams like this, the map pool's a little bit wider. There are way more options, but we're definitely thinking dive compositions here, and this makes perfect sense. So Max comes out, Junbin comes in. It's dive time.
Yeah, a lot of verticality, obviously, on Hollywood in the second part of the map. I think Hollywood, it forces you to play more tanks, right? You can play Sigma at the start. You can control high ground by that first point. As you move through the map, there are obviously beneficial things of playing tanks who can access that verticality on the offensive side mostly. So I think it's going to give Toronto maybe a little bit of an edge they feel there, right? They don't have to make a decision of, okay, do we go into the map with Max? Do we go into the map with Junbin? but also it does not really seem to matter that much, right? Crazy Raccoon seem to be able to play regardless of which tank is in at such a high level.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little bit thin on the narrative of close games, but 3 O's here at OWCS Major. Then I'd say the Defiant feel pretty similarly now as their backs are up against the wall.
Well, when you said Ilios was like pretty close, I was gonna ask.
They C9,
well,
so
yeah. Was SSG Falcons Ilios close? I was like,
well,
yeah.
yes.
Like,
yes.
I was like, so how close? It's like on the from super close to very close to not really super that close. Like, where was it on the ranking?
I'll leave it at competitive. I've only developed my power ranking for closeness of games.
Look at this, a surprise here on defense, Amaga.
Well, yeah, the verticality is less important here, I think. Defenders are going to have that sort of access to that area by default. I think Vega probably still feels like they need to play the Lucio here to deny a dive. And okay, we might. I was hoping for that. Yeah, like the wrecking ball poke pop that we saw on Busan and earlier on. It's going to be Malgan time, though, of course. All roads lead to Malgan.
And for Toronto, I think this damage dealer lineup makes like way more sense in terms of having the Cassidy with the Pharah. I agreed with Jake, like playing Cassidy's Sojourn was just a little odd there, with what they were trying to do on Circuit, but Crazy Raccoon, they will actually match this. So a near matchup. We talked a little bit about this Maga versus Sigma and other different kind of competitions. We haven't seen a ton of Maga beat Maga. We saw it in the SSG Falcon series a little bit. Right off the rip, you lose Merit.
Yeah, I felt like Merit had to send a written request for healing there. A little bit too late as Heesang was able to poke him down with a couple of rockets. And, well, it looks like we're picking up, folks, where we left off. Crazy Raccoon, an easy point A take.
Yeah, and I think now the Pharah has become a little bit harder to play right now that everybody can kind of have high ground control here. So, see what Toronto decides to do. Are they going to get up towards that high ground? Looks like they'll have someone get up there with the rest of the crew, give Sugarfree a nice vantage point.
From here, look at them. Set up as well as they can. Sugarfree, Pharah can fire into this choke here. It's definitely an advantaged position for the defenders, but not for long as his cart starts to advance.
Shu gets really low. Takes a few shots there from Sugarfree. It's, unless you force him down from the high ground, you're going to get no value when this rush comes up.
It's going to be put to the test. He'll have these small windows where Sugarfree will be exposed to that Cassidy damage. So a couple consecutive headshots, and there's actually nothing that Toronto could do to keep Sugarfree standing. No burst healing available to them.
What do you try and do here if you're Crazy, right?
You eventually need to take the high ground.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to try and maybe just push some shots in at range and get these players split from someone. And now they do get control of the high ground.
Lip staggered his position. He comes up a little bit later. Okay, hit by the mag grenade apparently. Crazy Raccoon taking their time. Here's the push. They want to disengage, but they don't have the opportunity. They drop off. Oh, the counter barrage is good, but Merit's ready for it. Lip though responds. Both Cassidy's striking gold here in this fight. It's Vega down for the Defiant. Vega, who was so close to building a beat. Now Toronto have to play safe for a moment. Let the cart push up.
And a root ball at about half HP, right? Doesn't exactly want to kind of come around the corner. Use this rush. There's even more progress going to be gotten here by Crazy Raccoon.
RuPaul couldn't take the risk of wall climbing back up there. He had to swift step, so that cooldown is unavailable for the next few seconds.
This is a must-win fight for Toronto.
This
right?
beat has to be perfect.
Almost 4 minutes on the clock. You cannot allow them to take that second checkpoint that fast.
Full support ultimate's in play here. This is the most important fight of the map so far. Not that that's saying much. So for the low ground, Toronto have been forced down here. They have to play on the card. Jonathan said Geronimo drops down. Heesang tries to fold around the corner of the building, away from the Cassidy presence. Kitsune rushes from both sides, and Chorong's going to be the one that falls with beat, no less. Okay, an opening here for Toronto. Merit zones away with their Deadeye. I say that unironically here, as the Defiant should be able to comfortably complete this fight.
Yeah, that's huge. It feels like once they actually get that kill on a Chorong, the fight is basically over, as Vega doesn't feel like he has to invest his beat. Chorong obviously doesn't have the beat to use. He's back in the spawn. It'll be both Kitsune rushes used there. So this also allows Toronto to get back in control of that high ground. It took a little bit for Crazy Raccoon to push him off that spot. So huge fight win there from the Defiant.
Yeah, no need as well for the Defiant to use that beat. Cage fight for someone is available, but they need to wait for the Crazy Raccoon to drop down. And there it is, Merit, the one that takes the advantage of a brief window to see the Pharah and find the headshots.
Yeah, it looked like they were trying to just kind of like speed past maybe Toronto and fight back by that payload. Then you lose that the ever-important Pharah, and there's nothing you can really do there as Toronto. Looks like they're possibly putting a little bit more pressure here on to Crazy Raccoon.
Sugarfree takes a big rocket hit there. They've got to now attend to the cards. Go very quickly. Deadeye for Liberty waits for them to drop down. Sugarfree gets caught out. It was Junbin actually to find that elimination, and here's Cage Fight. A lot of chains getting thrown around here. A Venn diagram of literal murder as he's saying eventually opts to join the rest of his team. Big damage there from Lip. Playing in his optimal range, and Crazy Raccoon getting his second checkpoint.
Yeah, and that is the sound barriers end up being used there by both teams. Now, I mean, this is Crazy Raccoon with over 3:30 on the clock here to be able to kind of get the payload down. This is another Toronto Defiant map pick.
Man, he's got half his ult.
Yeah, just, well, I mean, when everybody's kind of coming down this hallway, right? You just get a few directs in there, a little bit of splash damage. You're back up at 80% ult charge in no time.
I like Pharah on this part of the map. It's really hard for Cassid to have a long sight line on. Sugarfree, though, gets caught by Heesang. Getting caught out by that lip damage, and the follow-up for the Pharah was good. Here's a Kitsune rush, though, from RuPaul. Shu responds, reciprocates, in fact. The barrage was good. The damage, of course, no final blows, but more than enough to set this fight up, as Heesang gets good use of that Pharah ultimate. Someone brought down, and we have so much time still for Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah, rush is used on both sides there, but Defiant in a pretty decent spot here, coming out of spawn with Deadeye, a pretty big alleyway, and also that rocket barrage. How to stay alive coming around the spawn. Someone's gonna have to get a touch here. It'll be Sugarfree gets onto the point.
That's big. This is so awkward for Pharah to play in this open cul-de-sac. But getting the Malga of all things, that's perfect. Good target selection, good priority for Toronto. Will have themselves a bit of a moment to regroup.
Yeah, and for Crazy Raccoon, right, you end up losing this fight. One that was potentially lost going into it in terms of the ultimate economy across the board. But you still have to be pretty happy about your progress, right? You know, a minute 30 off the clock, you're putting yourself in the spot where the card is in a just one fight and it goes in your favor, and you actually get a map completion on Hollywood, which can be very difficult to do.
Let's go get him. 2 minutes left. 2 dead eyes up. Merrick going to be knocked out into the open there by Heesang, but yeah, tricky for Pharah to find the shots here. Lip hoping for just a glimpse of Vega. Merrick trying to do much the same thing, hoping for Heesang to pop up. Neither happens. Both teams still have 5 players, a full cohort, but Heesang has to drop down, expose himself again to that Cassidy damage, and here is the sound barrier. Joran holds it, still holding. Oh, and it comes too late. Shu gets picked up before he has the chance to make it work, but the trade is there, and someone arguably the bigger prize. Heesang blows Sugarfree to smithereens in midair. And Crazy Raccoon should get this one home now. Only RuPaul left, and that'll be that.
Yeah, as the sound barrier comes through there from Vega, they try and get aggressive behind it.
That was good. 5-player sound barrier is good.
Yeah, they just back up a little bit, disengage, even though they end up losing a player. They end up losing Shu before they end up dropping their sound barrier. It just gives that extra benefit to Heesang. Heesang comes around the corner. He's able to connect with 3, and everything is done after that.
Competitive from Toronto. Navigating that second phase of the map especially well defensively. But again, as the card gets close, they have to drop down and play the low grab to stop any back cap, force the attackers to come and join them, which eventually Crazy Raccoon acquiesced.
And I wonder what they'll actually end up playing here on the defensive side of things, right? Because you could potentially play like Sigma if you want to play Winston. I think they probably expect if you're going to play the Maga the entire time on offense, you're going to see it here on defense, on the offensive side. So you're going to have Crazy Raccoon come out with the Maga here to kick things off.
Defensively, see what Crazy Raccoon have, of course. We'll flip that for you in just a moment as Toronto Defiant are the attackers this round. So much Pharah on maps that we just don't expect to see her on. She is very powerful. Both teams with the Kiriko setups now, so healing Pharah not too much of an issue. A little peek there for Sugarfree before the switch to the Pharah himself.
Yes, that we've... I can't remember the last Overwatch tournament we've seen this much far.
Yeah, no,
right? I mean, it is like ages.
Could it have been like the triple DPS or record?
Yeah, yeah, it was like
2019.
Yeah, it was like Shanghai used a combination to kind of counter Ghosts.
That's right.
Where they played like Wrecking Ball, Pharah, Sombra. I would almost even say it was like Widowmaker would make something along those lines. Tracer possibly, but this is a pretty fast fight here. Goes in favor of Crazy Raccoon. But yeah, it's been really difficult for Car to kind of find her spot in the meta for a very long time. And I know with some of the recent changes to the game overall.
More maneuverability for her.
Yeah,
really
more. Yeah, she's like more active, like not in the air as long, but more active in the air.
Yeah, and that can be remediated with Lifeweaver platforms as well. We've seen a couple of times. Merit, a lot of poke damage here. This choke is so deadly for the attackers to make their way through it. Crazy Raccoon are forcing Toronto Defiant to sort of hang around there, setting up Heesang for success.
Yeah, Heesang gets a vantage point to know exactly where players are split off. As they do get the kill on the lip here early on, that's big.
I think they hit him with a mag grenade, but Heesang wants to try and get in there now. Someone couldn't quite get away from the last couple of rockets that caught him. Sugar Free here now has a strong position, denied him. Has to play in this wide expanse, which is definitely not where Farah shines. Crazy Raccoon say that's fine. We got what we wanted. They did use Sound Barrier in order to enact that push after losing Lip.
Yes, because they end up losing Lip, they're trying to protect Heesang while he's using Rocket Barrage. They do end up investing the beat there, so you did win that fight, but did you ultimately give up the next one?
Oh, what? Okay, fair enough. Suzu had to be used there. I think keep Sugar Free standing, but the point blank barrage claims Junbin. Deadeye though on the Kiriko. Lip now starting to pop off a little. Sugar Free brought down as Crazy Raccoon moved back inside the cafe. They'll concede a little bit of capture progress, but Lip's got another one. That's 3 in the fight for the Cassidy. Again, good conversation. He's well and truly part of it. Chorong steals one away from what would have been a big one for Cassidy still. Vega is nowhere to go. They're allowing this to drag out a little longer.
I mean, that must be so nice. Hey, we lose our tank. Junbin runs face first into a rocket barrage. They drop the Kitsune rush across the point. Lip steps onto it, just takes out 3, and here we go. Where now just a minute and 20 on the clock. You don't get a tick out of that either, because they're kind of contesting the entire time and even pushing past the point. You don't get any progress.
Kitsune Rush Deadeye available here, likely to be used in concert, but Merit takes a hit as he comes through the choke, so needs to be careful. Still, this gets Toronto positioning on the point, and Sugar Free's able to take Heesang down in the duel. That's massive. Cage fight for Junbin doesn't feel great here at all, but he needs to get onto the point. Cardiac overdrive, but look at that health bar crumble. Junbin can't hang. Eventually gets picked off. Toronto should have this checkpoint now, easily enough.
Yeah, you can't win too many fights with a player down. You're a Crazy Raccoon. You end up having a few fights where you lose a player first, but you're still able to pull the fight out in your favor. That time, it is not the case as the aggression comes on through. And look at that Heesang. Where are you playing from here?
You know what they say about walking under a ladder, Heesang?
Bad luck, right?
Yeah. He is on that flank. Looking for a big barrage. Gonna pop up behind. He got caught in the cage fight though, and that's a very durable target that he chose. Yes, he does get the Malga. In fact, both Faras find a pick with those barrages. Lip thinks better of peeking out. He knew he had enough damage on Merit that the mag grenade would ultimately claim his opposite number. And very quickly, Crazy Raccoon put themselves back in the driver's seats. Hey, you gotta watch out, RuPaul. Nasty.
Clean movement there from RuPaul, able to dodge some shots there. Now we'll see Junbin comes out on this, potentially Doom Fist here. So Doom obviously has great access to high ground.
They want to kill Merit over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're them and you're like, hey, we just get rid of Merit, we're in a good spot.
Merit just threw the mag grenade. Junbin now can dive. Power block used up though, so back to the high ground for the time being. Where do we go? Big punch. Gonna catch Vega, who's low, close to a sound barrier too. RuPaul picked off. Great job by Junbin, takes the attention away from the fire, and Heesang gets to sneak in. And he's finding all the kills. Oh, buddy! Oh, mid-air shot. Okay, this guy is on one.
Some sick shots there from Heesang. Yes. They were using the Mog up on the high ground before. I don't know if you caught it, but when the Rocket Barrage kind of came through, they end up using the Mog slam then into the Barrage. You can kind of obviously get some really nice plays from Doomfist, right? Knock players up, stun them for just a brief second into plays with the Barrage in the Cassidy.
Yeah, so second's all you need, really. That Barrage.
And someone now goes over to Winston, right? So this is just another, it's kind of what we see in the entire tournament, just like a rotating, cycle of tanks to counter each other.
Oh, we're dealing with, two teams with tank players in very deep pools. Lip's in a comfortable spot though. Tough to challenge him. Deadeye interrupted by Merity, got stunned up. I think the punch came in from Junbin. Still missing Chorongo. Crazy Raccoon, they're able to trade it back as Vega falls. Choron went down with beat, but so did Vega. Another team suffering as a result of that. Someone low. Yeah, Junbin beautiful. Punches him as they caught inside the room. And I don't think there's anywhere for Sugar Free to really go here. Junbin still respects the damage though, backs out. RuPaul very low and a beat now gets used. Crazy Raccoon are more than happy to throw theirs into the mix as well. One after another, Lip lands these shots. It's Vega to fall, and Lip can head up to the high ground now. Play a bit more aggressively. Deadeye's going to be there. Junbin into the backline. You see someone try and escape. He skitters away with the rest of the Toronto Defiant. They're down to 16 seconds left in the round. The Deadeye going to make more space. Up to the tower goes Merritt, but he's an easy target as he drops down. And Lip finishes the job. But Junbin's missing. Sugar Free eventually gets traded out after he goes in and finds the Doomfist, but Lip falls to someone. They're up close. It's messy. It's feisty. But Toronto have a player on the card. They're moving it. Now Crazy Raccoon have to address the Vega issue. The rest of Toronto running, trying to get as fast as they can to help out this lone Lucio, but it might not be enough time. They're too far away. Sugar Free blinks onto the card. Instant recall. Toronto still have 3 or 4 players now to work with, and here comes the Winston, but they're just pulling up short. And that really could be said of the whole series for the Toronto Defiants. As Crazy Raccoon run away with yet another map to send them to the lower bracket.
Yeah, you know, for Toronto Defiant, right? We talk about how versatile this team is. They can do all these different things. When you look across, you know, Crazy Raccoon look like the more versatile thing, right? The team, they can play so many different compositions, obviously at an extremely high level, rotating different tanks into the mix. Lip was tremendous on the hit scan all series long, and I think Heesang definitely got the better of the Faro duel.
Look, it's the most promising prospect out of NA getting 3-0'd. And Hollywood, not remotely close enough. Not remotely close enough. Crazy Raccoon are indomitable. They look unbeatable. Maybe the only team that can pressure them comes from their own region. So I'm sure that Falcons matchup would be an exciting one. But for now, it's back to the drawing board for NA's best and brightest. Toronto Defiant are felled in straight maps.
Yeah, I mean, the Falcons Crazy Raccoon match, that'll be tremendous. See those teams square off yet again. And then, you know, as we move forward down with the loser bracket, right? Like, what happens to Toronto after a really difficult loss like this, right? Trying to bounce back. SSG, we saw earlier today, they end up falling, you know, 3-0 at the hands of Falcons. But I think, you know, SSG has a really different play style. I think it'll give a lot of teams some trouble. I even gave, you know, Falcons some trouble at times. It'll be, it's like almost interesting, like, who's going to end up, like, being the third team in the mix, right? Like, you know, who's going to actually...
conversation already.
Who's going to come out of that loser bracket in, you know, get another crack at one of these teams? I think that'll be the real interesting thing.
Yeah, and a couple of interesting tidbits, like, you know, Ents, sort of proper thinking Ents are better than SSG, right? Which is a pretty big statement to make. But for now, we're going to hear from the victors themselves. Let's head down to the stage with Danny and Junbin.
Mitch, thank you so much. Yep, I am here with Junbin, who is also the Porsche Performance of the Match player. So everybody, give a round of applause for Junbin. Fantastic job today. I mean, 3-0. You guys are looking scary as ever. Junbin, how did Crazy Raccoons prepare for this match against Toronto Defiant? 자, 오늘 승리 축하드리고 또 PNTM까지 받게 되셨어요. 그래서 뭐 그것까지 축하드리면서 오늘 이제 토론토와의 경기 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨고 또 어떻게 경기를 풀어 나가셨나요?
이제 아무래도 토론토가 미국 와서 했던 팀 중에 제일 잘했어서 저희가 좀 더 전략적으로 준비를 했던 것 같아요.
Definitely there was some planning involved because we knew that going into the match, you know, Toronto Defiant are definitely one of the best teams in the NA region. So there were some preparations, and I think really preparing for this match really paid off in a big way. Now, I have to ask, I feel like Crazy Raccoons are definitely one of the strongest teams that we are seeing in Dallas currently. So, in your eyes, what makes your team so good, so strong, and so scary? 자, 마지막 질문을 준비 선수가 보셨을 때 아무래도 지금 크레이지 라쿤이 거의 달라스에서 최고의 팀의 한 팀이라고 제가 생각을 하는데 왜 이렇게 잘하나요? 잘할 수 있는 이유?
그냥 잘하는 것 같아요.
We're just that good! Simple as that. Everybody give it up for Junbin one more time. Thank you so much. Zoe, back to you.
Junbin on stage just spitting facts with Danny. They are just that good. And part of that is, of course, the meta. They have such a good understanding. Him on that Maga, it just looks so very clean in the execution. They are dictating the tempo, and it's been really, really hard for any other team to keep up with it.
Yeah, I think Junbin is really the tip of the spear on the Mauga comp, and I think he's really evincing a really critical fact about this hero and the playstyle that you need to succeed with it. You can't play slow. I think that Hollywood first point defense was a beautiful example. Even though you're defending one of the better sort of fortress points in the game, still Junbin with any kind of HP lead on the enemy Mauga, charging in, forcing the aggression, pushing into the enemy spawn. That's not just disrespect. I think for me, that's actually the way you want to play this comp. You always want to be initiating aggressively, even on defense. And so, you know, showing the advantage of preparation on the comp and a style that really came from Crazy Raccoon, from Falcons. These are the teams that have been showing it and looking the best on it. And for me, Johnny, this comp decides the tournament. I don't think there's a counter.
I mean, Johnny, I know. Look, I know. You tried to speak the Winston into existence.
We saw like a minute of Winston.
I was about to say, we saw. Did it work
like a
out?
minute. No, I didn't say it would work out. I just said.
That is a very good point.
Yeah.
In that lower bracket, though, it's gonna pop off, right?
I agree with Jake, and we've kind of been talking about this on the desk for the past couple of days. That like, the game kind of revolves around the Mauga composition, and then it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do against it? So, for example, right, the Sigma composition, that could be an answer if you don't feel up to the brawl, and we've seen ENCE try to pull it off, right, and also seen the SG try to pull it off. The problem is that, like, it's so hard to deal with the tempo, like you mentioned, Jake, when you have a Mauga that perfectly positions, has the perfect overruns onto the backline, onto the Caspian Batiste, right? So you kind of have to match this Mauga. I feel like SSG, I mentioned it in the last match as well, you know, maybe they can figure out some variation of the Symmetra, but otherwise, right now, it's without a doubt Crazy Raccoon, Falcons, they are the top two of the tournament. All my hope has been vanquished. The hope is gone, Zoe. Like, I'm just giving up. I'm sorry. Like, I can't do it anymore.
It took 1.5 days. I think you got pretty
far. I can't do it anymore. I really tried. The narrative was out there. The players were like, oh, we have a chance, we have a chance. And
it was an honest effort.
I wanted to believe, Zoe, but Jake was right all along.
I'm no stranger to crush dreams, Johnny. This is the reality. It's about raw strength. You need raw talent. I mean, there's so much pressure at this level of the game. I mean, what's being asked of these DPS players is something that I think to a level we've never seen before in Overwatch, where you have to play everything. You have to be one of the best hit scan players in the world. You also have to be one of the best Genjis. You got to be one of the best Tracers, one of the best Echoes.
We've been building towards this for a long time, and now it's like finally here where a Hyperflex is required.
Yeah, and I think I think this time was always coming in Overwatch. I think especially you see it on the flex support role right now. We've seen a lot of Kiriko in this series, but from Fielder, we've seen a ton of Ana. We've seen a ton of Batiste. From the different counters, different maps that come out, a different response is required. And the incredible flexibility on these top teams in Crazy Raccoon and Falcons. I mean, I think that's what's really going to be put to the test. The team play, the flexibility, the individual mechanics at this point, they're a given. These players are best in class.
And yeah, what a beautiful display of this flexibility on our very stage. With what we just saw from Crazy Raccoon, they managed to stay alive, of course, in the upper bracket where they will be facing off against Team Falcons. Now, those are two teams who have both shown us those Mauga compositions. Different looks of it, though, and that's something we touched on. I'm very excited to set this match up, but we have to wait until tomorrow because we will, of course, now moving on to the lower bracket first, where we have teams which are fighting for survival. Maybe one of them will manage to claw their way back into that upper bracket, but I think it's fair to say that Team Falcons and Crazy Raccoon, those were the two teams most people would have expected to see up there.
I mean, I don't even know who like takes them on. Like, if you had to pick like a lower bracket team to like even contest, like I feel like it's even like we shouldn't even like be considering that now. Right now, it's like who is the better team? Is it Falcons or Crazy Raccoon? Who is in pole position to actually win this entire tournament? Because so far, Falcons, of course, they've shown their like Genji, Venture, Brawl variant, right? Whereas maybe Crazy Raccoon, they can play more Lip on Tracer, for example. I don't think they'll match that Genji Tracer, right? So it'll be interesting to see how these two teams actually play each other in a matchup.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, in the lower bracket right now, you're scrapping for one more chance. I do still think Toronto Defiant are actually the team that's going to come out of the lower bracket. I still believe them. I think they played Crazy Raccoon the closest of anyone we've seen. I mean, I think Circuit, maybe a weak offense due to some unconventional picks, but I think that was honestly their map to lose with how incredibly well they played on
It was
defense.
winnable for both SSG and Toronto.
Yeah, and honestly, even Hollywood, I think that went strongly in the favor of Crazy Raccoon, but nonetheless, I think Toronto Defiant is the team I can see actually matching the Mauga comp in terms of having the actual skill, the flexibility to take that match. I mean, even Vega pulled up with a ton of kills on Hollywood. I mean, I was noticing that in a lot of these team fights, they might be going the way of Crazy Raccoon, but Vega's finding impact, finding kills. And That's the confidence you need to take a tough Ajax on the second map and still come out swinging, playing aggressive, not back down. I think that's exactly what I want to see from my main support player in a meta like this, where with the Mauga, you can't be scared. The moment you start falling back, retreating, trying to recover, it's not going to happen. You're going to get run down and finished off. And so you've got to be aggressive. You've got to be taking initiative. Toronto's the team I can see actually doing that and potentially putting up a better fight if they can survive that lower bracket.
I mean, they are the only team we've seen thus far in this tournament who are not afraid to take that Mauga mirror. They're not trying to be cute. They're not trying to just bring too much of their own flavor. They have a lot of flexibility, but they were not worried against Crazy Raccoons to take them into that mirror. So I'm very interested to see what they can get done in the lower bracket, where they will be facing off against ENCE next, I believe. For now, we're heading into a quick break, and after that, we're back with a special treat for everyone. So please stick around. You don't want to miss it.